So today is officially Lunar New Year's Day. It is the year of the Fire Horse 2026. And as you can see behind me, we have our Lunar New Year decorations. And last night we spent a lot of energy cooking. And on the day after a holiday, I don't know about you, but I don't really want to cook much. But of course, you gotta have dinner on the table. Hey everyone, it's Sarah from The Walks of Life. And this is one of those recipes that barely even feels like a recipe because it takes so little time to make. It is our 15-minute takeout-style curry chicken. You might have seen this on a Chinese takeout menu. It's basically just chicken, onions, stir-fried in a really tasty curry sauce served over rice. And you will not believe how easy it is to make. Literally from start to finish, taking out the ingredients to when you are eating, it takes 15 minutes. And so many of our readers have appreciated this recipe for that over the years. They love to get this dish out at their local takeout restaurant, and they cannot believe how easy it is to make at home. So let's talk about what you need for this dish. Chicken breast, I just grabbed this at the store this morning, never frozen. Of course, if you grab them out of your freezer, that's no problem. Oil, salt, some soy sauce, cornstarch, which you will have if you've been cooking with us for a while, sugar, some chicken stock. This is just better than bouillon mixed with warm water. And then you have these two spices, turmeric, which gives the dish this sort of like really vibrant yellow color and flavor, and then curry powder. You can use any run-of-the-mill curry powder that's like marked as such by any spice brand at the grocery store. What I have here is a Vietnamese Madras curry powder, which I just think is the best balance of spice, heat, earthiness. If you want to use a Japanese curry powder, you can. It'll be milder, it'll be a little bit sweeter. If you wanted to use your standard like yellow curry powder that you'll find at a grocery store, that you're also going to find that that is a little bit more turmeric forward, a little bit more mild. If you're not that into spice, maybe use that rather than the Vietnamese. So you may also be wondering if you can use a curry paste, which you may find from Thai brands or Malaysian brands. That is a different ball of wax. That's just a different type of curry. If you wanted to make a Thai curry with like a red curry paste, green curry paste, Penang curry paste, whatever, those are just different dishes. And we have recipes for those as well on the blog. The first step I'm gonna do is to mix the sauce. This step actually isn't even written into the recipe, but to make things go a little bit easier at the stove, you can do it ahead of time. So I have 1.5 cups here of chicken stock. I just use bouillon paste mixed with 1.5 cups of warm water. And I'm gonna add to that 4 teaspoons of this curry powder. So for those of you who do not know, curry powder is not a single ingredient. It is actually a spice blend. British colonial settlers who colonized India really loved the curries that they had in India and then had no idea how to actually cook Indian food. Rather than learning the sort of complex aspects of Indian cookery, they came up with this spice blend, not this exact spice blend, but a spice blend like it. They called it curry powder, and it was this sort of like fast track or shortcut to that Indian curry flavor. Of course, the concept of curry has spread throughout the world. And in Hong Kong, we have these dishes that eventually made their way to Chinese takeout restaurants abroad. And now I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of turmeric. So there's already turmeric in the curry powder. That's what's giving it that yellow color, but I'm adding extra because if you don't add this extra turmeric, you get this sort of brownish yellow sauce. When you add this extra turmeric, you get a really nice golden yellow sauce. And I'm gonna add a little bit of salt. I'm not gonna add a ton because the bouillon paste is quite salty already, and I can always adjust it later if I need to. Finally, a 1/2 teaspoon of sugar. This just sort of balances all the flavors. And that's it. That is your sauce mixture that you're gonna pour into the wok. So my next step is to cut this medium onion. This is like the only vegetable in the dish, but I actually find that I just really like the combination of the chicken with just onion. People add red and green bell pepper to this. You can do that if you want more vegetables. What I do usually if I'm making this is I just saute a vegetable to go on the side. So I'm going to take my onion, I'm going to cut it in half lengthwise, and I'm gonna cut each half into 5 or 6 pieces. And in the pan, the onions are gonna break up and you're gonna get pieces like this. That's what you want. So there's my onion. That's all of the chopping. The only other thing is slicing the chicken. Now I'm gonna marinate my chicken, which just needs a little cornstarch, a little oil, and soy sauce. So I need 12 ounces. If you want to make a larger batch of this, you could double it and do 1.5 pounds. I would just not go much more than that, because when you double recipes like this, you end up crowding your wok. And that really changes the result. You're gonna get a slightly more diluted product because the heat of your stove can't keep up with all the food that's in your wok. I'm looking for the grain in the chicken. So it's less obvious with chicken than with beef, but the grain is running this way, horizontal on the short side of the chicken breast. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna cut this chicken breast with the grain, and then I'm going to turn it and cut against the grain. You are actually making a more tender slice of meat by doing it this way. And chicken breast, of course, is really easy.
The least confrontational
cut of meat that you could.
And yet probably the just hated regardless.
So see what I just did? I cut these too thin. So this is more of a strip than a slice. And I really want sort of wide slices. So how you do that, you turn your knife at an angle like this, and you start cutting like this. And the first few pieces are gonna be a little bit smaller, but as you keep going, you're gonna get wider slices. I think that's 12 ounces. So I'm gonna put it into this bowl and wash my hands. So next we're gonna velvet the chicken, and that process basically makes a sort of coating on the chicken that keeps it really nice and juicy and tender when you stir fry it in that high heat wok. So I'm gonna add a teaspoon each of cornstarch, soy sauce, and oil. And whenever you're measuring dry and wet, especially when you're using the same measuring spoon, like in this case we're using a teaspoon of each, try to measure dry first, because then you do not have to wash. So next I will add the oil, and the cornstarch and the oil are basically the main actors that keep that chicken really moist. And then the soy sauce is there for liquid, like a little bit of hydration and also flavor. So a teaspoon of soy sauce, Chinese light soy sauce. If you have light and dark, any soy sauce will do. And now I'm just gonna mix this with my hands. So I'm gonna get all of the chicken evenly coated. And this recipe is like an earlier recipe for us. So I didn't add water to this, but maybe I'll add a little water, because when you add like a tablespoon of water to this amount of chicken, it's really gonna keep it really nice and juicy. You know, it's not a necessary step by any means, but it's just an extra really easy step. And that is literally all the prep. We just mixed the seasoning sauce mixture, we sliced and marinated the chicken, and we cut an onion. We are ready to cook.
And you have to make rice.
And you have to make rice, but that's your rice cooker's job. So another thing I forgot to mention is that we have a version of this with beef in our cookbook. It's on page 197. And if you're more of a beef person than a chicken person, you can definitely make this one. I did add those bell peppers because the bell peppers more often show up in the beef version. And this one is also really tasty, also really easy. There's only a couple more ingredients. And if you don't have a copy of our cookbook, The Walks of Life, Recipes to Know and Love from a Chinese American Family, you can grab one and check out page 197 for the beef version of this dish. Okay, so we're at the wok, and right now I'm preheating it over high heat, and I want to see little wisps of smoke coming off the wok, and that tells me that it is properly heated. Definitely heat it properly before you add oil, and that will prevent the chicken from sticking. You can see the little wisps of smoke coming off it now. I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of oil, and then I'm going to add my chicken. I'm going to spread the chicken out in one layer. And we're just gonna let it sear undisturbed for a little bit. This will also prevent it from sticking. Start flipping. You can see there the chicken has a really nice golden sear on it. And I'll just let it cook on this side for another 30 seconds or so. Stir fry it until it's about 80% done and take it out. So we're stir frying, and as I do that, I'm gonna scrape up those slightly stuck bits. And now I'm gonna remove the chicken from the wok. I'm just gonna put it right back into the bowl that I marinated it in, because this chicken is gonna cook again. It's gonna cook in the simmering sauce. And why wash another bowl, we always say. The pan looks a little dry, so I'm gonna add a little bit more oil. And I'm gonna add in the onions. So we're just gonna stir fry the onions for a little bit, maybe a minute or so. And as you can see, as you stir fry, the onions are breaking up into these like smaller pieces. And I'm just gonna turn the heat down a little bit because I don't want those bits that were in there from the chicken to burn. And I'm gonna add in our chicken stock, curry powder, turmeric, salt, and sugar. I'll turn the heat back up and we're gonna bring this to a simmer, which in this wok will only take a couple minutes. So my sauce is at a simmer, and you'll notice that I didn't cook the onions for very long. I just stir-fried them for about 1 minute, and now they are softening a little bit further in the wok as the sauce simmers. You don't want to go too far with cooking the onions. A crisp, tender onion is the goal here. I have now my cornstarch slurry, which is a teaspoon of cornstarch mixed with a little water, and I'm stirring that up here with my finger because cornstarch and water separate very quickly, so you want to make sure that they are well combined right before you add it. And I'm just going to add that in, and we're going to watch the sauce thicken up. And when I add the chicken, which also had cornstarch in the marinade, the sauce is going to thicken even further. And I'm just sort of moving the sauce and the onions around the sides of the wok, not just to thicken the sauce, but also to deglaze. So that looks pretty good. It looks just a little bit more viscous, a little bit more gravy-like. And now I'm going to add the chicken back. Simmer all together for another minute or two, and then we can plate this dish up and eat. So as we've stir-fried this to make sure that the chicken is cooked through, you'll notice the sauce has thickened even more. It's more of a gravy, and it is coating the onions and the chicken. You can turn off the heat and plate it up. Just looks so tasty. 15-minute takeout curry chicken. So simple to make, so tasty. Let's go try it. That smell is so good. It just like brings back memories of childhood for me because this curry dish was one of my favorite things growing up. And this is basically the easiest possible version you can make. All from scratch. You didn't shortcut anything, but so simple to make. The curry powder is perfectly balanced. It's got a good kick to it. It's spicy, but I really like the kick that this has. And that little bit of sugar that we added to the sauce mixture just balances that spiciness a little bit, and it really picks up on the sweetness of the onions. And you may be wondering, why did you guys use chicken breast? Because we are definitely proponents of dark meat. You could absolutely use chicken thighs here. I do think chicken breast is sort of more common in this dish. I don't need this to be chicken thighs. I think that the chicken breast does just as well here. It's such a good blank canvas for the sauce. It's perfect. It's awesome. The sauce is just the perfect texture to soak into this rice. And this is one of those days where we're filming and eating lunch at 2:30 and I'm really hungry. And this is super satisfying. So that was my easy 15-minute takeout style chicken curry. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out more recipes on thewoksoflife.com.